There is many different locations for wind farms, but there is only one Gougane Barra. If none of us want it down here, why should somebody in a boardroom in Dublin decide what our fate was? So automatically we had a feeling of like, our democracy is gone. This would not happen on the rim of Glendalough, but it would happen down here, this far down south. Neil Lucy is my name. I am from Gougane Barra. I live here, and Katie and I run Gougane Barra Hotel. A decision was made by On Board Pleanála in the middle of February, an appeal that was put in by the developer of a wind farm here on the southern rim of Gougane Barra, which is directly behind the hotel here. And it's overlooking Gougane Barra itself. It won't be seen directly from the door of the hotel or from the door of the church, but it'll be very, very visible from everywhere else in the valley. These are 175 metre high turbines, and they'll be sitting up on the edge of the mountain. And we don't want it, our communities don't want it, Cork County Council doesn't want it, Fáilte Ireland doesn't want it, and even On Board Pleanála's own inspector wrote very strongly that this was not a good idea for the location of this wind farm. And this is not anti-wind farm, this is just this is against the location of this one particular wind farm, because Gougane Barra is a special place, and we must look after that place.
I believe you said that the wind turbines are taller even than the Dublin Spire. Is that true?
That would be true. You're talking about 178 metres, which is a very, very, very tall, from to the very top, to their wingtips. So, and even on the width, you're talking 150 metres on the span of the blades. So you're talking about a very large, very strong turbines, which will overshadow. The thing about here is that they'll be sitting on very high ground. So you're talking about elevations of 300 metre plus. So they'll be very visible for a long, long, long distance away from here.
So how do local people who actually live around this area feel about the turbine decision?
The turbine decision was the first part of it was like, oh my God, could this happen? Could our fate be decided in a boardroom in Dublin? I mean, there was this idea that, well, if none of us want it down here, why should somebody in a boardroom in Dublin decide what our fate was? So automatically we had a feeling of like, our democracy is gone. Now, if you know anything about Rebel Cork and the feelings in the valley, all these people fought in this area for their democracy. They fought against a bigger enemy 100 years ago, and all of a sudden, oh no, 2 generations later, here we go again. We're fighting this anti-democratic idea that someone in a boardroom can decide our fate. So the community as a whole was very, very upset about it, and very, very quickly we put out a feeler just to see how that was, and we set up a little poll, and all of a sudden we got 10,000 signatures from all over, from 42 different countries in the world, saying that what had happened on the middle of February was not right. So then we knew that we were going the right way. It wasn't just us, it is the whole world is saying like, hang on a second, this is just not right in Gougane Barra. We felt like, oh my God, we're just coming out of COVID and we're starting a new season, we're trying to rebuild our business back up, and all of a sudden we got this huge whack of this On Board Pleanála's decision. Now realistically, this takes up so much of our time on a weekly basis. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's be honest about it, we have more to do with looking after tourism than going against something like this. Since we began this journey in February, we have been contacted by a lot of communities up and down the country, and they all have expressed their concerns and their support to us because they see Gougane Barra as being an iconic situation. Now, they all have similar problems, as in the development of wind farms in their area. Wind farms are greatly supported by EU money at the moment, so the development is wide scale. Our proposed development is wide scale, and that is upsetting a lot of communities up and down the country, and that's what we need. We need to protect those people as well when we will win this situation.
What effect do you think that this decision, if it goes through, will have on your business and the valley as a location more broadly?
Us as a business, I mean, the reality is, if the business, we weren't here today or we weren't here for the next year, it will have an impact on the valley. This is not about us, this is not about business. This is about Gougane Barra being that really special place. Sanctuary is a word that was used recently and used very, very, very nicely. A place for people. This Gougane Barra essentially is that little island on the lake where that little church sits. This is the place that's special. It has a broad community of people, a broad range of people that will visit from all over the world to this particular place. They come here on their pilgrimage, on their own thoughts, on their meditations, on their yogas, on their prayers, on their Christianity, on their weddings. They come for so many different reasons that that lovely little word pilgrimage is as broad as the day is long, which is fantastic.
The church, I believe, has an association with Saint Finbarr from the 6th century, who's obviously a major Irish saint, particularly down here in Cork. And As you said, many people have been married here and so on. Do you think there's a kind of a historical and religious significance then to this location?
The pre-Christian stuff was not written down, so we don't know the records of what was actually here. But we know that the holy men of that time, that when they came here, they found those really special places. So St. Finbarr is one of those. He came here in the 6th century. He set up a very simple little monastery here. He came here as a hermit himself. He got very quickly had a few followers. He had a lot of good friends in the circuit at the time. But he also brought education, and education was desired by the Celtic community. So reading and writing in Latin was very, very popular. His school grew, and eventually he moved on downstream to Cork, where he set up his school on the south side of Cork City, which is the basis of University College Cork today. This is so like Glendalough. I mean, it carries all that same function. It is a special place. It is a saintly place. It's an ancient place. It carries all that. But the reality is, like, what does Gougane Barra mean to you? What does Glendalough mean to you? This would not happen on the rim of Glendalough, but it would happen down here, this far down south.
What would you say is the specific significance of valleys like this to Ireland's overall character as a country and how we're perceived internationally?
Reality is we have so many special places in the country. I mean, if you just stop and think and get a pen and paper and write down those special places to you, it can be done very quickly. Put in Giant's Causeway, put in Cliffs of Moher, put in Glendalough, put in Gougane Barra. We're up there in the top 10 of Fault Ireland's places, signature places to visit. It is like that small destination. It is a special valley. This is the upper part of the River Lee. This is part of the Gaeltacht down here. This is part of the Wild Atlantic Way now, this part of this region. This is one of those special places. This is easily saleable to visitors on the international market. This is so special to so many people that this is the one that's worth minding.
What would you say to people who argue that we need wind turbines for the government's climate action plan and the windmills have to go somewhere, so why not here?
That is a wonderful debate. That is a totally separate debate in one sense. The problem with this one is the location of this on the edge of this valley. If this could be moved down a couple of 100 meters, slightly more out of sight into the next valley, then you're on a different location. That is not a problem to Gougane Barra. But what we're actually trying to do here is protect this place that means so much to so many, this special place, this sanctuary. And like this is just a debate about location. The whole wind farm debate and the future of energy in this country is a totally different discussion, and I'd love to have that chat too.
I believe you said previously that you have a legal defence fund to challenge this move in court, so how has that been going?
That's going really well, actually, because we did a lot of information. We put out a lot of information early on in the year about where exactly we are with An Bord Pleanála and where the debate was. It is now hotting up. Our legal team are getting into place, and we're putting out information there that we need some funding from people. Funding is coming in lots of different ways, but what we're asking people for is small donations. If somebody has that money in that little pocket in the car, that's the kind of money we're looking for. Because Gougane Barra means so much to so many that if we had a small donation to from many, we would make up a lot of money. And we can do that through Gougane Barra on iDonate. It's very, very easily done.
Have local people been supportive of the campaign that you're mounting?
Oh, absolutely, because straight away this is the local community development organisation, the Cuiste Forbe Belongérig is what we call it. This is Gaeltacht, so all this is Oscoilg in this area. And they're very, very supportive of us. And everybody in the area is as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get more information out there, keep feeding it out there and say, well, we don't want this thing. We don't want this here in this valley.
Looking at the big picture, do you think that rural Ireland often bears a disproportionate share of the burden when it comes to green policies like this?
I do. I'm a little bit concerned in the overall picture that in wind development, that the people in these valleys, we do not have a say like we should have. And in a lot of situations, it's going to be undemocratic because the planning will be capital projects that will go directly to An Bord Pleanála, and we will have very, very little say. So our fate will actually be decided in a small office in Dublin.
Have any local politicians spoken up to defend you guys?
Yes, we've had support, but again, you see, you have government policy then that need to develop wind energy, so it's a funny balance with people as well in political terms. We can't actually say a whole lot at the moment because we're on the steps of the High Court, but when and we will win, we shall make a lot of noise because this is an iconic situation. This is a place that is worth protecting for the future. We're here right now, we're only passing through as a generation. The wind farm development on the rim of Gougane Barra is a very short-term gain, a small gain for for what is actually an ancient place, a place we're protecting for the future, for the next generations down.